MonkeyDEX aims to be the most comprehensive all-in-one DEX solution with over 12 chains live on their platform, a cross-chain bridge built on Mayan and Wormhole rails, and then Jupyter-powered features such as perps and copy trading coming soon. Would you guys like to give a little bit more into that, or you're welcome to, or also give intros to yourselves?
I think that's great. I can give a little bit of background on myself. My name is Anestis. I am a 36-year-old senior developer. I did about 4 years in Web 2, and then I got headhunted and started working in Web 3. Then while I was working in Web 3, I decided to create my own project, which is about nearly 2 years ago now. And then we launched, I'll talk more about the project, but I'll let the other people also go. But yeah, I'm also half Greek. That's correct.
I just jump into the questions, start these high level, and then we'll get sort of more granular as it relates to your project. So first is, if your project were to succeed, how would it fundamentally change the Web3 space?
So we're actually trying to contribute to the original idea Satoshi had, which is, decentralization. I think most of the people who have been in this space for some time know that centralized exchanges do come and go. People have been rugged by them. And there's been a slow move over to decentralized exchanges where people actually hold their assets and are in full control of them and don't have them stored on some exchange. And then this also allows people to get airdrops through snapshots and so forth. So our role in this and our vision is to grow into a pretty much a one-stop solution for the crypto space. This is why we've added partnerships with 1inch and LKX, and we've also been using Jupyter for Solana. So we now currently support 12 different chains with native swaps. And then we have limit order trading on Solana. And then now we're in the process of building our copy trading solution, which is being done right now. And we have our perps solution, the UI, pretty much ready. We're just waiting on Jupyter to open their APIs. And then we also have another big partner, but this is under wraps for now, which is going to provide us with more perps as time goes by.
Sweet. Did you start on Solana? Are you Solana native, or were you on another chain first? What's sort of the history there?
We are Solana maxis. So we launched in December 2022, a decentralized exchange on Solana. And then over the next 6 months, we started adding new chains. We did a few iterations on our UI, and then we added in wormholes. But that solution was a bit clunky, so we added a second iteration on that. So now it's a one-click solution. So if you want to go, let's say, from Ethereum straight to Bonk on Solana, you can do it with just one click, and any of the other chains that we support through our wormhole. And then that's being built on top of Mayan and Wormhole. So if you're doing any transactions on Solana, you're actually farming our native token, Monkey Gold or MoGo, and you're farming Jupe since we're routing through Jupe. And then if you're using our wormhole or our bridge better, you're also farming Wormhole plus Mayan as we're routing through them as well.
Sweet. That sounds productive. What chains do you support currently? You can name the biggest ones if that's important.
We support Ethereum, Arbitrum, Optimism, ZK Sync, Polygon, BNB, Avalanche, Phantom, ETH, Gnosis, Clay, and we got more in the pipeline. And then we are going to be launching our copy trading solution solely on Solana first. And then once we have that nailed down, we're going to start adding it to all the other chains and also our perpetual trading, as well as our limit order trading.
Sweet. Do you know what percentage of your users are like Solana natives? Do you have other users sort of coming from other chains at all yet?
So we have a few people that are from different chains that we've also acquired through just partnering with projects cross-chain. But I would say our user base is Solana. And that's usually, that's where we live. That's where we came from. So, and our NFT collections are on Solana as well. And we provide direct revenue share from the DEX. We just launched our Generation 2 monkeys. There's 888 of them, and they get 35% of the Rev Share split between them.
Awesome. So you said that was your second collection. What's sort of the story of the NFTs? What did you guys use that for? What was the sort of impetus behind launching an NFT collection?
So me and Eric, my co-founder, we built first the Solana part of the DEX and we launched it. So we launched the working product and then we announced our mint, I think it was 2 weeks later, back in December 2022, simply because we needed funds to be able to expand. Unfortunately, we launched in the middle of the bear market. Solana was $8. Everybody was running for the hills. So I think we had maybe the slowest mint in history. It took about 7 months. So we didn't get any real funding through that, but we just kept building and adding value to the platform. So we've been working, I think, a year and a half now with zero salaries, and we've just been hammering partnerships and deals. And our volume had 2 months suddenly started picking up. We just set a new record last month. So all arrows are pointing up, both with visitor traffic and users. And we've built the platform in a way so we incentivize people to use it. So one of the incentives is the farming of different tokens. But then we're also OG gamers. So we're launching a Monkey Gold program where anytime you swap, you also earn Monkey Gold. Secondly, we have leaderboards where weekly you can place on a weekly leaderboard and then you can earn part of the revenue share from that entire week. Then we got a daily race that's coming out, which is pretty much the exact same as the weekly, but it's for per day. And then we have a daily lottery or raffle, if you want to call it that, where anybody who trades for $10 or more on our platform automatically gets a raffle ticket. And then once per day, we have an algo that just picks someone random, and then they get 1% of the daily revenue from that day. So if we're doing millions of dollars in volume, then that number is pretty substantial.
That's sweet. I'm curious, sort of on your this. I love a good slow mint out. What kept you around? Like, why'd you stick around? Most people who fail to mint out, in, even a week, are like, well, we're either cutting the supply or we're out of here, and they rug. But sort of what gave you the grit to stick around through that? Was it just kind of like, well, this isn't working, or yeah, yeah? Tell me about it.
I mean, it comes down to the person. I always kept telling people that we're going to keep building regardless of if we mint out or not, because we feel we're providing value to the ecosystem, and at some point that value is going to be recognized, and it has started becoming recognized now. So we've just been self-funded, and like I said, I'm a senior software engineer, so I love coding, and this was my own project. Well, me and Eric's. So we just, hunkered down and kept building through the entire bear market. And here we are today. Finally, we're in a bull, or so it seems at least. And yeah, things are looking good.
Yeah, that's sweet. I always deeply respect people who are sort of just bootstrap the whole startup thing in crypto because it's relative to like a brick and mortar store, it's a lot easier to bootstrap here than it is, if you have inventory and all these things to manage. So that's always a good sign and earns a lot of respect in my book. Currently, do you know how many users you have, and is that sort of on the uptrend, or how are you acquiring them?
So it's on the uptrend. Truth be told, last year we had an average of, I think, 20 to 30 visitors per day. And now we're seeing 200 to 300 visitors per day. Also, our volume, let's say just 7 or 8 months ago, if we were lucky, we were doing $1,000 or $4,000 a day. And now we're doing $30,000 to $60,000 a day. So it's been slow, but it's been fun because we've been seeing the metrics going slowly up. And it's also allowed us enough time to iterate. So we've been listening to our community. We've been reiterating not only the UI and also the experience, but we've also been taking ideas from people and implementing them. So the slow mint and also the slow growth allowed us to really get a product market fit as we were building, and then now we're ready for the masses. So this is perfect timing with the Launchpad.
Sweet. Do you see the token launch as a sort of a big boon to your existing efforts and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, we've had zero funding now for a year and a half. So we already have two developers that we've interviewed out of New York. So we have one experienced Rust backend guy, and we have one front-end developer that are going to help us out. We've rebuilt our entire backend into Rust. So it would be perfect to have him come in. And then also on the front end, we do need another dev. So our plan is to try and raise some money, expand the team, give salaries finally. We've had people working with us for over a year for free, so they need to be compensated. And then it will give us a little bit of a war chest so we can actually start doing some proper marketing and yeah, just scale the business basically.
Yeah, I like that. Slug and I have been working together on, well, up until recently for free for about 2 years, since
Great.
2021 for the most part. And then with a crew of others too, as well, like probably a team of 10. And we've won some hackathons and some other stuff like that, but no funding outside of that. So it's very cool. I like it when I find people that are doing similar. And I think there's quite a bit to be said for keeping a group of people together for free. Could you speak on that a little bit? Like, how do you manage that? Like, how are you guys aligned? And are you as friends as well as sort of coworkers?
That's actually a really good question. So the mods that I had initially who are still with us. They're friends that I got to know actually through the Web3 space. There was a project called Baby Ape Social Club, and there was a fur trait called the DMT fur trait. And we created our own Twitter group chat, and everybody was just vibing in that chat. So even when the project tanked, we just kept vibing. And so I got some guys from there to help me out from the beginning, and they're still with us. Other than that, I have obviously promised people tokens and part of the Rev Share so that they're compensated for the year and a half of work they've done. And so they'll keep being compensated for the work that they'll continue to do with us.
Yeah, sweet. Can I ask how much you're looking to raise? Like, what's the target for you? Like, I think we were just doing some math planning on this crew that mentioned before, and it was like $2 million if we were to raise from VCs or token, roughly for a couple years worth of runway, if you're comfortable.
Absolutely. That's pretty much the exact same thing we're doing. We launched the Gen 2 collection so we could free up some percentage so we could sell it to VCs. Unfortunately, that was not successful so far. So we've revamped it. We're looking for 1 to 2 mil max. And that would give us a runway for about 5 to 8 years from the spreadsheet we put together. And I think that's more than enough money. Even half a mil, I think, would be enough to get us running because we're right on the verge now of, yeah, just basically snowballing.
Yeah, sweet. So I think I'll jump back. It was just sort of a free form back and forth. I'm going to jump back into the other questions. But I am curious, is that sort of 5 to 8 years based on your current burn rate or your current projected burn rate as you are being scrappy and bootstrappy?
I mean, yeah, I mean, me and Eric are going to take normal dev salaries, actually lower than what we had in Web 2. And then we're going to be giving the moderators that have been working a lot through the space, we're going to offer them a contract with a normal salary. And then we have a little bit set out for marketing. So we have some of the funds earmarked for that. And then that combined will give us about that runway. So, yep.
Sweet. So I'm curious, do you think teams in Web3 are able to be smaller and more agile than they are in Web2 and build more? I think one of the good examples of this is like Tether with their 12 developers pulling in billions. Could you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I came from Web 2. I came from managing a team of 30 developers over 3 projects. And I mean, yeah, management, there's a lot of bottlenecks in Web 2. And when you're a small team and when you're on Web3, you don't have the same bottlenecks. Decisions can be, reached faster. And especially when the founder is the lead dev as well. So for us to pivot on any idea or to start building things, we have a very quick turnaround. And so because of this, we've been able to implement quite a few ideas from our community over the past year, which I think has been really great because it makes our community feel like they're also building with us and their opinions matter. But then again, we also are able to get the opinions of people, our own users. So we're able to, get that product market fit even more nailed down.
Yeah, sweet. So I've got a hardball question for you. If Jupiter were to integrate more perps contracts, integrate more chains or copy trading features, what would you do? Not that any of that's on the roadmap, but I'm just curious.
That's great. I mean, we're going to be using them for the perps. I've been talking to their devs for, I think, the last year or so. We're going to be one of the first projects that integrate with their perps API once it's out of beta. I think they're doing their second security audit right now, if I'm not mistaken. And then once that's done, they're going to be opening up the APIs. And then we are one of the first projects that are going to be using them. So that's just a huge plus if they do that. But then I can't really speak about it because it's still under wraps. But we do have another huge partner for perps. And yeah, that's all I can say about that.
Sweet. So tell me a bit more about the MoGo token. What's sort of the idea behind that? What is the purpose of it?
So this plays into user retention, gamification, and rewards, basically. We're going to be launching a Monkey Gold rewards program where basically for every 100 USDC you trade in value on our platform, you immediately can claim 1 MoGo. And the MoGo is going to be tied to the revenue our DEX produces. We are writing a smart contract right now that's going to take 5% of the revenue share every day and then buy back the token and burn it. The token is going to start at 42 million in total circulation, and we're going to burn it down to 21 million. And then that smart contract, instead of burning the tokens, is going to start depositing it in the treasury. So the token will have a value that's connected directly to the volume the DEX produces and the revenue. And then this way we have a self-sustaining system where there's actual value behind the token because it's connected to the revenue the DEX creates. When it comes to team allocations, we're going to be using squads. So I think it is. We're going to have 95% vested over 3 years. And we have, I think, 4.2 million tokens that we've set aside for getting listed on centralized exchanges. And then the rest goes into the treasury, which is going to be multi-sig with a few people involved, not just me and Eric.
Awesome. Can you tell me a bit? So you talked about a bit of gamification with it. There's a burn mechanism, as I understand. I like burning things. Can you tell me a bit about the burning mechanism?
Yes, sir. So right now we have a revenue payout system that's been live for over a year. Anytime our DEX wallet hits a threshold, it automatically calculates all the people who have been holding their NFTs for 7 days or more in their wallet, and then pays them out accordingly to which type they hold. And this has been going on for a little over a year now. What we're doing is we have an extra 5% that's left over, and that 5% is going to be used to buy back the token and automatically burn it. And then once we've reached 21 million tokens, it's going to buy the 5% every day, but it's going to store it in the treasury. And that's it.
I always enjoy projects that sort of use the original Bitcoin supply number. That's fun.
And 42 is the magic number, don't forget that.
Yes, 42 is that's actually my lucky number. It's my dad's lucky number. It's my best friend's lucky number, and it's also his dad's lucky number. So very auspicious. Let's see. Could you tell me a bit about Contribute XYZ and then what that was and sort of where the status of that is, or maybe the lessons you learned from it?
That's a great question. So that's also how I met my co-founder, Eric. I was headhunted. I was working for a company called Cisco in Web2, and I was headhunted basically on Twitter. This guy DM'd me, and he had got funding for this idea, which was going to be the Web3 LinkedIn, and it was going to be on Solana. So I came in as one of 2 developers, and we started building it. We launched it, I think, 3 months after we started building, and we had NFT collection pages. I mean, the general app looked and behaved very much just like LinkedIn. You could, put your companies that you worked for. We were working on creating a system where companies could register and then approve people, so you could get the verified check mark that you did actually work for that company. You would log in with your wallet, so it would allow people to be verifiably anonymous or pseudonymous, but still, being verified to their identity. And so this way we wanted to create basically the Web3 of LinkedIn. And we spent 2 years working on it. And it was very hard to acquire users. We started at the peak of the bull market in 21. And then in the summer of 2022, me and Eric decided we were going to start building our own project on the side in the weekends. And that was MonkeyDEX. And then last year in May, I quit working there. I left them to go just 100% on MonkeyDEX. I took some funds I had saved up to keep myself afloat and just spent the whole summer last year just coding and negotiating with 1inch and then OKX and landing those deals, and then getting us all those other chains with native swaps and being able to offer users 2 options with the best one auto-selected anytime they wanted to trade. Yeah.
Sweet. Good answer. I'm going to toss it to the Slug. Slug, do you have any questions you want to ask before we head on?
Yeah, I just have a couple. The first of which is that one of the bottlenecks that affects every project in the space is the overall size of the space in general and the number of people actively participating here. What do you feel are the biggest constraints that currently limit ecosystem growth?
I think it's people fighting with each other. We just experienced it today. I think there are, excuse my French, but I think there's a lot of people who maybe are too young or too immature to be in this space, and they just want to see the world burn. We've been dealing with a FUD attack the entire day today and been answering them the whole time too. And I see this tribalism between projects in the same ecosystem, which I think is very destructive. I would love to see more love going around, people helping each other out, collaborating more, learning from each other, doing cross teamwork. And I think that's the biggest bottleneck. I mean, we saw this. I saw some guy who was at the ETH Denver thing who suddenly had to get security because he's a Bitcoin maxi, or allegedly so. And he had been threatened by Ethereum people. So, and then I see the same tribalism, not as much in Solana. In Solana, people are much more friendly and collaborative. I've been to, I think, 3 or 4 of the hackathons, and it's just all around good vibes. But then if I speak to someone who's from ETH or anything else, sometimes they have a really bad reaction that we're Solana maxis. So I think it's tribalism and a combination of that and people who maybe are too young to be in this space. Yeah, I think that's what's holding the space back a lot.
Gotcha. You mentioned a situation this morning in the forum, and I said in order to diffuse that situation, I said I would ask about it on that guy's behalf. So do you kind of want to go over what he was talking about? Because I really have no context for that.
I will do it. Okay, so last year when we decided we needed to raise venture capital money, we were giving the Generation 1 collection 70% of the rev share and only 30% going to the project. So we decided to cut the collection down by over 3 times the amount. So we went from like 2,800 something NFTs to 888 NFTs. And then we cut the revenue share back. So they get 35%, which equates a little bit more than they were earning per NFT before. We airdropped that to the Gen 1 holders. And then in the beginning, we didn't have any plans to let Generation 1 monkeys have any value. But then once we realized that we weren't going to get any funds anytime soon because people had been loaning out on banks, and we thought we could maybe take some of the funds that we were going to get from VCs and repay people who had been lending money for the Gen 1s on banks, which really is not our job, but we were trying to find a solution for everyone. And then once we realized we weren't going to have the money to give anybody anything, we reworked the entire payout system so that Generation 1 monkeys would still get 5% of the revenue share. They would still get a 25% discount on the DEX, and they would still have a holders role in our Discord. There was a lot of fuzz about this. I think I spent an entire month answering people about this, announcements, so forth. And then there are still a few disgruntled people who are still bringing it up and still being angry. And the funny thing is that the Generation 1 NFTs are today worth more than they were back then. And so they're angry about being stuck with an NFT that's earning revenue share, and it's worth more than they loaned out. They could just list it on a marketplace and get more money back. But instead, they spent the entire day fighting us, and we were answering them the whole day. I think 6-7 hours we spent today just answering those people. So I don't know if it's a FUD attack, they're trying to drain us, or what it is. And some of these people also joined our Discord a month or 2 back, and one of them jumped into our AMA and started yelling and cussing and all that stuff. And so we banned them. I don't have time to deal with people who can't see reason or can't talk or have a normal discussion. And the evidence is there. If you look into the introductions channel that we have today, you can just scroll up and see how these people are acting and behaving with us while we've been answering them over and over and over again. So I hope this finally puts an end to this discussion. It's weird to have the discussion to begin with because they're left with more money than they started with. So I don't know. I don't understand how it's even a loss. They're complaining about a win.
But don't you know you're supposed to make them $1 billion?
That's the logic we're dealing with. So I don't know. That's why I also mentioned earlier, I feel there are some people in this space that maybe are too young or don't do enough research and then think that something bad happened, and then their first go-to thing is to attack instead of trying to have a conversation and throw accusations and badmouth us. So yeah.
So just to get on the same page, just to understand what happened. Originally, the Gen 1s were getting Rev Share, 70% of Rev Share, but you decided to shrink the collection down and you airdropped. Did you airdrop the Gen 2s to the Gen 1s? Okay, you airdropped Gen 2s to Gen 1s, but some people were loaning the Gen 1s on banks and thus they weren't included in the airdrop. Is that accurate?
It wasn't that they weren't included. It was that a lot of people decided that they were going to sell their Gen 1s because we were transitioning to Gen 2. So the floor price dropped. And then about a month later or 2-3 weeks later, I can't remember, we decided to rework the entire revenue share system so that they would still get revenue and keep the fee reduction on the DEX. And so in that way, they would retain value. And so they're angry because they got stuck with those NFTs, but then the floor price today is worth more than when they took the loans. So yeah.
Okay, so just understand the issue is people were loaning these Gen 1s on banks, even though you were transitioning to the Gen 2, and then that left a couple people salty. And to sort of remedy that, you said, okay, we'll give you guys some rev share just to make you happy. Okay.
Exactly.
And what's their point of contention here? Like, what's their grievance?
They say we made a promise, which we didn't. They say we promised to pay everybody's loans and everybody was going to get a lot of money. Where what we actually said was, if we get VC funding, then we'll do that because we're not planning to let Gen 1 have any value. But since we didn't get any VC funds, like we have $0, we couldn't give them anything. So we reworked the whole system so they would retain some value, which they do. They still get revenue share weekly. Yeah.
Okay, so it was a contingency. You said, if we get VC funding, then we'll do this. You didn't get the VC funding, therefore you couldn't do this. But you decided to give them some rev share anyway, just to make people kind of happy.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly it.
All right. Well, I kept my promise to that guy, and I addressed this. If he has any follow-ups, he's free to ask during the third portion of the AMA when we open it up to the audience. But yeah, I think we've uncovered that. My next question would be, where do you feel the space is going to head in 3 to 5 years? Particularly, what are your opinions on this that might be a bit out there or outside the norm or even controversial?
I think Solana is going to surpass Bitcoin. I mean, look, I've been in this space since 2011. I remember when Mt. Gox went down. I lost money on that Gox. I was also mining Bitcoin back in 2011. I've been through too many bulls and bear cycles now, and I've seen a lot of blockchains come and go. I also lost a lot of money, earned a lot of money, and then lost it again. But Solana has something very special. Not only the community and the first to market with an L1 that runs parallel transactions. It's not single threaded like Ethereum or Bitcoin, but it's multi-threaded. So that's why we can have super fast transactions and at very, very low fees. I think Solana is incredibly underrated for the tech that they've managed to create. It's an insane blockchain. I think it's the blockchain that will onboard the masses, especially with Firedancer coming out. So my controversial take is that I think Solana in the long run is going to surpass Bitcoin. And I also believe that Solana easily is going to go over $600 this cycle. Slur, you're muted if you're trying to talk.
I was going to say, I was just going to add in there that, well, yeah, I feel the same way. I don't say it out loud very often because I think people would call me crazy because I've been in crypto. I first looked at Bitcoin in 2014 or something, and then I bought a MIDI keyboard instead of a Bitcoin, and that's a really expensive keyboard now. But yeah, I wouldn't actually. I don't think I'd even work in crypto if it wasn't for Solana. I'd probably still be doing Web 2 stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I put out a tweet yesterday. I said if I publicly said the market cap that I believe Sol will hit one day, people would view me as a lunatic. The number I have in mind is 5 trillion. I didn't reveal that to anyone, but that's some alpha for attending the space.
Slurg Solana targeted. That's the
alpha.
Over 10 years, though. Over 10 years is the caveat. But yeah, just a couple more questions. One question from the forum is, do you currently have a breakdown of the tokenomics that you're willing to share?
Yes, but the thing is, we're looking to see how it's going to work with the LFG Launchpad because we hadn't calculated that into our original tokenomics. But we're going to try and work it out over the next week or so, and then I can post in our Discord about it. But I can rerun the tokenomics that are set in stone again. So we're starting with 42 million. We're going to have a buyback and burn mechanism through a smart contract that's going to bring it down to 21 million. And then it's going to be taking that 5% and storing it in the treasury. All the team allocations are going to be 95% vested over 3 years. This is going to be transparent through a Squads SO. 4.2 million tokens is going to be set aside for centralized exchange listings when that time comes. And then we also have 8.4 million tokens that's going to be in the initial pool for the gamification of the platform. So that's what I can reveal for now, but we'll probably have a huge post about it in the coming week in our Discord.
Okay, cool. And my final question before we get onto the Sourceful AMA. So djems make up the majority of the population in the Solana and crypto ecosystem. what would be your strongest pitch to them? And do you also have a value prop that can appeal to people outside the space, Web2 individuals, but also potentially grandma in Iowa?
It's a very good question. Difficult to answer. I mean, we are djems. If you come join our Discord, you'll see we're lunatics. I think that's part of the space. You got to be a little bit crazy to be in Web3. You got to be even crazier to be building in Web3, and you have to be a lunatic to be a founder in Web3 because it's nonstop, 24/7. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of, I mean, just look at FTX and all these other things that keep happening in this space. So you need to know where you stand and be pretty solid as a person to make it in this space. So we're already degen enough to be here and keep building through the bear market. What was the second part of the question you said? Oh, Web2, how to onboard Web2 people. So once we do have some funding and we have the new devs on our team, our next goal after rolling out the new features is to start creating a lot of educational content. Because me personally, I want to be one of the people who helps contribute to onboarding the next wave of users specifically to Solana, and then have them come to MonkeyDEX, which is going to be almost like a trading terminal with tons of chains and everything. There's going to be the gamification. It's going to have a very intuitive UI, and then all the educational material that goes with it. So yeah, that's what we're planning to do to help onboard the next round of users that are coming now with the bull.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for fielding all those questions. I would ask that you guys hang tight for the second and third portions of the AMA. We're going to go to Sourceful now.